blast. All right, so when you open up your blast assignment, it's going to give you a welcome to study sync, some background info for you to read. Over to your left, you'll see where it says create your blast with its question. How do contemporary issues and culture shape your worldview? Also, a lot of times it's going to have a poll, something more interactive for you and fun. It says, which kind of news do you find yourself reading and responding to the most? So you'll want to answer that question. Okay, let's scroll down. There's always going to be a number crunch, and what you do is you just click on that, and it's a fun fact. According to a 2015 Pew Research Center study, 24% of teens say they are online almost constantly. Right? That's quite a bit. What do you guys think? All right, so that's how your blast is going to be formatted. Okay, so now let's look at creating your blast. I have expectations for how I want your blast to look. Okay, and what we're going to do from the very get go is we're going to use what's called RACER strategy to format our blast or any short response question. Okay. Any open ended question that we do, which is basically a question that requires more than a yes or no answer. Okay. All right. So, our blast, how do contemporary issues and culture shape your worldview? So, two important things you need to understand to be able to answer this blast successfully is what do contemporary and culture mean? Okay. So, contemporary means it's occurring in today's time. Okay. It's in the present, it's related to current events, what's happening today. Culture, simply put, is like a way of life for groups of people. Okay. The way they do things. Okay. The way that you have grown up and the way your family celebrates holidays or, your routines. That's your culture. All right, so we have our blast question. Now let's take a look at the racer strategy question. Okay, so our question is, how do contemporary issues and your culture shape your worldview? Okay, so we need to turn that into a statement instead of a question. So I'm going to take off the how do, okay, the question part. So let's say contemporary issues and culture shape my worldview because, and for some reason, it is not typing for me. There we go. Contemporary issues and culture shape my worldview because. The next step is to actually answer the question. So let's think about it. Why would current events, what's happening today, shape your world view? How does your culture shape your worldview? I would say what comes to mind for me the most right now, obviously, is COVID-19, the corona. That's what's most prevalent in our news right now, and it is directly impacting the way I do my job. So they shape my worldview because they change the way I live. They change the way I live, and it directly influences my career. All right. The next part is to cite evidence. Okay. It's not just enough to answer the question. you need to prove it. Okay. Give real life examples. Give text evidence. Okay. Research, statistics. Okay. So for this blast, we're kind of pulling from our own personal experiences, but at times we're going to be doing research and reading articles, and we're going to need to take quotes from a text by paraphrasing it or a direct quote using quotation marks. Okay. And for the cite evidence, I have sentence starters to help you start using that academic language and to help you get your thoughts down on paper. Okay. So not every sentence starter is going to meet your needs. So you need to look over them and say, okay, which one works for the answer that I'm writing? So since I'm pulling from personal experience, it wouldn't make sense to say the article states. So I think I'm going to go with the sentence starter for example. So let's scroll back up. So let's see. Contemporary issues and culture shape my worldview because they change the way I live and it directly influences my career. For example, I now have to reevaluate the way I teach and come up with new strategies on how to teach students in a way that meets CDC guidelines. For example, I now have to reevaluate the way I teach and come up, and I have a lot of typos because my computer is going slow. That's okay. We'll just fix it as we go. Now, I want you to realize that just because it's a box doesn't mean you have to stick to just writing one sentence in each box. So feel free to elaborate and add more, okay? All right, so next step is E, explain your evidence. Why does your evidence matter? How does your evidence show that you've answered the question fully? Okay, so why does it matter that I'm reevaluating the way I teach and coming up with new strategies and meeting the CDC guidelines? Okay, what is the purpose of that in my question? So I need to refer back to how does that show that the contemporary issues, the issues of today, are affecting my worldview. So again, I have sentence starters for you to look at to help get your thoughts onto paper. So let's take a look. For explain and elaborate, we have this shows, this proves, this makes me think, this explains, it means. So I'm going to go with this shows that my worldview has changed. Okay. This shows that my worldview has changed. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more because before the pandemic, I never would have considered keeping students 6 feet apart at all times. Because of today's current events, I am even more aware of keeping students healthy. Culturally, I want to bring back that culture aspect part of the question and make sure that I'm fully answering the prompt. Culturally, I grew up believing it is important to care for and serve others. This all shows how my worldview has changed in light of the pandemic. Okay, so this last step is to review your work. So, again, just a reminder, anything you write for the first time, it's not going to be perfect. There are changes that you can make. You need to check for capitalization. Did I capitalize the start of every sentence? Did I punctuate the end of my sentences? Do I have run-ons? Okay. Did I repeat myself? Look at your writing and see what you can improve. Okay. So for this last step, I would suggest either typing everything in to that last box and putting it all together, copy and paste out of your other boxes and put it in the last box. Look at it as a whole and then make your changes. Okay, so let's see what we have. Contemporary issues and culture shape my worldview because they change the way I live and it directly influences my career. For example, I now have to reevaluate the way I teach and come up with new strategies on how to teach students in a way that meets CDC guidelines. This shows that my worldview has changed because before the pandemic, I never would have considered keeping students 6 feet apart at all times. Because of today's current events, I am even more aware of keeping students healthy. Culturally, I grew up believing it is important to care for and serve others. This all shows how my worldview has changed in light of the pandemic. And so I think I'm going to add one more sentence to kind of really bring that to a close. So let's see, what should I put? It is now more important to me than ever to think about how my actions in the classroom can help to keep students safe. So again, I'm going to go through there and I'm going to change some of my wording, check my grammar, punctuation, spelling mistakes, and then look it over. And then the last thing you're going to do is